How Germany's central midfield and wing-backs destroyed Portugal. For cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to www.jerseyfifa.com. A link will be left in the description. Use code ATLANTISFOOTBALL for 5% off. So in this video, I'm going to first analyse how Germany were so effective at progressing the ball into the final third, how they halted Portugal's attacks with their defensive structure, the role of Germany's central midfield and wing-backs in destroying this Portugal side, and I'll give my verdict on what I think went wrong for Portugal and what they should have done instead. But before I get into the analysis, let me tell you about my favourite football app, which is the One Football app, because this is where I go to keep up to date with the latest circulating transfer rumours, and I find the match section on the app incredibly useful as well for keeping up to date with matches, teams and players that I'm not able to watch on a regular basis. If you like this channel, you'll definitely love this app, so when you go to subscribe to this channel after this video, which would be very much appreciated, make sure you click the link in the description to also get the One Football app. So going into the game, we saw Joachim Löw set up his side in what looked to be a 5-2-3 shape, and Portugal were using a 4-2-3-1 with Ronaldo at the focal point of the attack. So what we saw from the start of the game was that Portugal were looking to press Germany aggressively in their defensive third from their build-up. We see here that Portugal are pressing in what looks to be a 4-1-4-1, with William Carvalho pushing up alongside Bruno Fernandes. And what we see is when Gundogan moves deep to pick up the ball, we see Fernandes push up aggressively onto him, creating a 4-2-4 kind of shape. And we can see how many players Portugal have in Germany's defensive third applying the pressure. But Germany are able to play out of this situation. The ball goes back to Rudiger and he plays a quick pass into Gozens, who plays it back inside to Gundogan. And Portugal's press is a little disjointed. You'd expect a player to be following up behind Bruno Fernandes to take on the pressing of Gundogan. As when Gozens receives the ball, he can simply play a first time pass back into Gundogan, and Gundogan has the space to turn out and play a forward passing into Serge Gnabry, and this allows Germany to work their way up the pitch. And then we see here that Gundogan has the ball's in the middle third, and Portugal are forced to drop off into a 4-5-1 shape. And that was pretty much how Germany were able to progress the ball into the middle third throughout the game. It was their quick passing and the disjointed Portugal press when they looked to press aggressively, which enabled the Germans to play around them. And I think this definitely came from the ball playing ability of the two wide centre backs in Rudiger and Ginter, as well as Hummels in the centre of that back three, who are all very good on the ball, very good passers, and with Kroos and Gundogan in the deep central midfield area as well. We can see a good example of this forward passing ability here when Ginter has the ball on the flank on the right side, and rather than playing a simple pass, he actually has the vision and the ability to play an incisive pass in behind the Portugal midfield into Gnabry, and this basically allows Germany to progress the ball from in front of Portugal's midfield line in the middle third to behind the midfield line with Gnabry, and pushing the attack into the final third, and that's where they can create chances. So as I mentioned before, what would happen is Portugal would look to press aggressively in the Germany defensive third, but then after the ball got worked into the middle third, they would drop back into this 4-5-1 shape with Fernandes dropping back into midfield. And we can see here that the Germans are using a 3-2-5 shape. And what we see here is that the wide centre-backs obviously stretch out. It gives Germany a good base to circulate the ball. But then we then have Gundogan and Kroos playing as a deep double pivot in midfield. And then you have the front three, which was very fluid, of Müller, Gnabry and Kai Havertz, all three of which would take turns in dropping into those half spaces. And what this meant is that effectively Germany had a box around the Portugal midfield. They didn't know whether to push up onto Kroos and Gundogan to stop them getting on the ball, which would then create space between the lines for the likes of Müller, Gnabry and Havertz to drop into. Also, which was causing problems was the advanced nature of the wing-backs. I spoke about this in regards to England, how Southgate was pretty conservative with pushing his fullbacks forward. But here we see the Germans really pushing their fullbacks forward. You can see Ginter has the ball on this right side, and Gozens on the far left is pushing forward, providing an option, not only providing an option down that left side, but pushing the Portugal right back backwards and forcing the whole Portugal midfield line to drop a bit deeper. The wing-backs were a massive feature of Germany's attack, and I'll come on to that in more detail later on, but we did get a glimpse into this at the start of the game. Ginter pushes forward from the right side of centre-back position into a crossing position. He's crossed to the back post, is met by Gozens, the left wing-back, and his acrobatic finish goes into the net, but it's eventually disallowed. But this did tell us that the wing-backs were going to be a massive threat, especially Gozens coming around the back post, which did come to fruition later on in the game. In possession, we would see Portugal use a 2-4-1-3 kind of shape. What would happen is Danilo Pereira and William Carvalho would sit deep in central midfield, and we'd have Bernardo Silva floating in front of them, with the front three sitting quite high up the pitch and the fullbacks pushing forward. Germany would sit in the middle third in a 5-2-3 shape, with the front three sitting quite narrow, creating another pentagon shape with the two midfielders behind them. But they would look to press aggressively as well. We saw that when William Carvalho got on the ball, Gundogan was quick to pressurise him, and this really initiated Germany's press. He would then follow up the press on Rafael Guerreiro, forcing him down the line, and it's from this sort of position that Germany were able to crowd Portugal out in the left-sided channel and win the ball back, and this is really what stopped Portugal being able to progress their attack forward. Germany's organised press, they wouldn't press aggressively all the time, but when they saw the opportunity, as Gundogan did, moving tight to Danilo Pereira and then initiating the whole German press with that movement towards Rafael Guerreiro. Germany were very organised, and this did stop Portugal progressing the ball through the centre of the pitch and allowed Germany to sustain their attacks. But despite Germany dominating possession throughout the first half, it was Portugal who took the lead, and it came from a counter-attack from a corner. So we see here Bernardo Silva's carrying the ball forward, and the problem here for Germany is that they haven't got their defenders in the defensive positions, because it's Kai Havertz who's in that sort of right back position, and what you would usually expect from a right back is for him to just hold that position to stop the ball at the passing lane, opening up to Diego Jota on the far side. Instead, Kai Havertz gets drawn across, which is only natural because he's not a natural defender. Bernardo Silva's ball is very good, and Jota just puts it across the goal for Ronaldo to tap into the net, giving Portugal the lead. However, Germany would not only get an equaliser, they would actually get a goal to put them in front, and both of these goals came from the wing backs. The first comes from Kimmich cutting inside on his left foot and putting in a perfectly weighted curling cross to the back post. Gozan shows his perfect volleying technique yet again to knock the ball across the box for Havertz to put into the net, and the second goal comes from Rudiger pushing forward down the left side with the ball. A passing lane opens up and he feeds the ball down the line for Gozans, plays it back inside for Müller, and eventually the ball goes across the goal to the back post, where Kimmich, the right wing back, is there to knock the ball back across, and Guerreiro puts the ball into his own net, giving Germany the lead. And both of these goals came from the involvement of both wing backs. Germany in the second half would add 2 more goals, and both of those goals had the influence of Robin Gozans in them. The third goal comes from Gozans holding his width, and you can see here with Portugal playing a back 4, they haven't got the players to stretch wide. The right back's forced inside. This leaves space for Gozans. Müller plays the ball into him, and he puts it in a fantastic low cross across the 6-yard box, and Havertz puts that into the net. The fourth goal also involves both wing backs. Kimmich puts in the cross to the back post, and Gozans is there, who's fantastic in the air, heads the ball in, making it 4-1. But Portugal did pull a goal back, but Germany went on to win the game 4-2. And the key to Germany winning this game, in my opinion, was the central midfield battle, and I'll come on to exactly why. But before I do, let me remind you to check out some of my other videos linked in the description below. I've got a lot of Euro 2020 content on there, and also subscribe to my non-football YouTube channel as well. I will be uploading content on there very soon. So apart from the 2 Germany wingbacks who were phenomenal, I thought that Kroos and Gundogan in central midfield were also key to the Germany win. Now they were aided by Portugal's defensive system, and we can see here that when Kroos would pick up the ball in this deep lying position, Portugal's midfield were far too deep to apply the pressure, and this was because they were concerned about the space between the midfield and defensive lines opening up and allowing Havertz, Müller and Gnabry to drop into that space and receive the ball. So what we saw Danilo Pereira, William Carvalho and Bruno Fernandes as well sit quite deep, and this meant that Kroos and Gundogan could drop either side of Ronaldo and pick up the ball, and they had time to turn and play a pass. We see here that Kroos gets on the ball and plays a superb long pass over the top of the Portugal backline for Kimmich, who heads the ball down to Müller, and now Germany are in Portugal's defensive third on the edge of the box just from one pass from Toni Kroos. Apart from Gozans, I would say that Kroos was Germany's best player in this match. Maybe even alongside Gozans as well, because Kroos was so influential throughout this game, particularly in progressing the ball into the final third. And this is something that I've talked about a lot in regards to England's central midfielders. You can watch my tactical analysis of the England-Scotland game, where I do mention England's lack of progressive passing, but Kroos did that excellently in this game. I've just shown you an example of his long passing ability, and here we see an example of his dribbling ability. So he receives the ball in the Portuguese defensive third, and rather than just turning back and playing a simple pass to retain possession, he feints to go one way, drives forward past the Portugal midfielder and plays a pass into Gozans, and all of a sudden Germany are in the Portugal box, and this all comes from Toni Kroos's progressive play. So what should Portugal have done in order to minimise Cruz's impact on the game? Well, Portugal's 4-5-1 meant that Cruz and Gundogan could drop either side of Ronaldo and pick up the ball. So what I would have done instead is move to a 4-4-2 shape and have the two wide midfielders, Jota and Bernardo Silva, sitting a lot narrower than they were in the 4-5-1, and this would subsequently close up that space alongside the two central midfielders, and this would allow Bruno Fernandes to then push up alongside Ronaldo a lot higher up the pitch, and these two could both look to cut the passing lanes into Kroos and Gundogan. Both players would basically sit and look to cut the passing lanes from the centre-backs into these two players, and this would force Germany's centre-backs to play these sorts of passes that Kroos was playing, and therefore Kroos wouldn't be able to get on the ball and play these long passes, and Germany subsequently wouldn't be able to progress the ball into the Portugal attacking third as easily. Now, my approach to the whole game would be slightly different. I would not go for a 4 at the back system against Germany. I may do a video in the future in more detail on why, but the wing backs staying wide is definitely a major problem that teams are going to have against Germany. So if England potentially do get them in the last 16, I may do a video looking at how England should set up to beat Germany. But in this game, because Portugal were wedded to a 4 at the back system, they haven't really used a 5 at the back system. I think a better option than the 4-5-1 would have been a 4-4-2. It would have definitely allowed Bruno Fernandes and Ronaldo to cut those passing lanes and really nullify Cruz's involvement in the game. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that video, remember to subscribe to the channel and click the bell for notifications. Check out some of my other videos linked in the description below. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram for more content as well, and follow my non-football channel as well, which will also be linked in the description as well.